This Council resumes the second reading debate on the Appropriation Bill 2025. Today is the second budget meeting. Members have been informed that only members may speak in the second reading debate conducted today and tomorrow. In a third budget meeting next Wednesday, that is the 30th of April, the second reading debate on the bill will continue, but only public officers will speak to reply to members' views. I remind members that each of you may speak once for up to 10 minutes. The speaking order of members will be based on the order by which members press the Request to Speak button. Members who intend to speak today, please press the button to indicate. Ms. Cumming-Khan. Thank you, President. The budget was delivered on the 26th of February. Since then, the world has changed. There are uncertainties. Hong Kong is facing an unprecedented challenges. That also comes with opportunities. Mr. Xia Baolong spoke in the National Security Education yesterday. It says that there are undercurrents. The situation is still complicated. The budget will have to be flexible. We have to safeguard national security. We have to make sure that our financial system and economic securities are safeguarded. Recently, the U.S. has announced sanctions against 6 government officials. On top of that, there is an increase to 145 so-called reciprocal tariff on Hong Kong. It shows the hegemony of the U.S. I support the Hong Kong SAR to dovetail the government's initiatives to implement a multilateral economic situation. I also support the Hong Kong SAR to make a petition to the WTO. The Chief Executive has announced a number of issues. I support these initiatives. We will have a general election of LegCo this year. We will have patriots administering Hong Kong. That itself has strategic importance. I support the government's budget. This is in line with what I advocated, that is, to spend within expenditure and to pursue stability. I think the key point of the budget is the new philosophy in managing public finances. In relation to reduction of cost, given the current situation and the $82.7 billion deficit, I support the reinforced version of the fiscal consolidation program. In 27-28, there will be a 7% reduction in recurrent expenditure. I think we should explore further reduction. We need to enhance procurement as well as have more workshops of the Audit Commission. I think they will be conducive to monitoring our effectiveness. The government establishment will be reduced by about 10,000 posts. G18's proposal is to review the increment system as well as the civil service pay system. We need to legislate to enhance the disciplinary procedure of civil servants and put in place incentives to encourage better performance. The government will revert $662 billion from 6 seed capital funds to the general account. I think it is an appropriate move. I hope that the allocation is specified to invest in the future, say, for example, River Loop as well as Northern Metropolis. Don't just let it go into the general revenue account. The education has about 5 funds. So there is a percentage of plowback of 85.8%. There is about $11 billion for the use in the coming 5 years. Given the importance of talent and technology, when a review is conducted in 2028, if there is a need to establish a fund, I suggest that it should be expedited. About exploring source of income, I do think that affordable users should pay more. There should be a review of electric vehicles, fixed penalty tickets for parking, as well as other penalties. In relation to other initiatives, I think the FS should listen to stakeholders. Regarding expediting development, of course, we need to abide by fiscal prudence, but we need to find new growth areas. The government announced that in the coming 5 years that there will be a bond issuance of about $100 billion with a maximum borrowing of about $700 billion. The borrowing ratio is about 12 to 16.5% of our GDP, which is a lot lower than other economies. I support that. The bond issues will be used on non-recurrent expenditure. There will be about $120 billion issued in bond for the northern metropolis. Well, in the 25-26 to 29-30, about $200 billion of bonds will expire. Starting from 27-28, we may have to start paying for over $100 billion of bond. I think the government should issue bonds of medium terms for the development of the northern metropolis so that the business sector will have confidence in the development in the area. Now I move on to the three centers. For financial and capital market, I'm happy to see that there will be enhancement of the listing mechanism. The Hong Kong EX has also expanded international cooperation. There are 20 recognized exchanges. In 23-24, for 2 consecutive years, we have not seen any overseas enterprises choosing Hong Kong as a secondary listing venue. Is there a way to establish a mechanism to include secondary listings in our Stock Connect scheme? Well, this will be a good preparation for buyback of China concept stock. There is a capital market development blueprint. I hope to see more breakthrough. Last year, the budget talked about building Hong Kong as a cross-national supply chain management center. With the increase in tariff, we do need to expedite our development in this area. The government needs to work harder to find opportunities. The FSTB, the CNE department, as well as the CMAB should work together to find leverage points. In relation to redomiciliation, the scrutiny of the bill has completed. I suggest to the government that mainland enterprises should not be neglected. China concept stocks may come back to Hong Kong. We have the Hong Kong team. We have connection with the rest of the world. Recently, President Xi talked about building with neighboring countries as a common, with a shared future. In the work report of the 2 sessions, for the first time, Hong Kong was requested to deepen international cooperation. The CMAB said that there will be strengthening of the work of Invest Hong Kong, as well as ETOs, so that all parties will work together to promote the development of the 3 centers. Invest Hong Kong as well as Oasis has worked to introduce the 80 enterprises into Hong Kong. In 2024, over 500 companies have received assistance to come to Hong Kong. Our efforts should be enhanced. We need to attract more enterprises and talents to come to Hong Kong so that our economy will benefit from it. In relation to strengthening cooperation with cities in the GBA, well, Northern Metropolis as well as the River Loop should be given priority. There should be more pilot schemes in Tianhai. These are the initiatives I've been advocating since 2021 when I became a national delegate. I think there should be a task force of the development of the Northern Metropolis to dovetail work with the mainland counterpart. Regarding the River Loop, suitable lots should be identified for private involvement. Well, we have InnoEX as well as the World Internet Seminar. A lot of high-quality enterprises have come to Hong Kong. The River Loop should be further developed into INT Center. We're faced with a complicated international landscape. The government should maintain a robust fiscal management. We need to have sufficient reserve to buffer shock. At the same time, we have to be optimistic. We have to be flexible. We need to invest in our future. We need to safeguard security. We need to develop. I hope that these will be your goal, so that we can pursue high-quality development while safeguarding national security, and will continue to implement one country, two systems, and scale new heights. I speak in support of the budget. Mr. Chen Kim-po. Well, the budget has shown the government's philosophy to be safe while pursuing development. It has shown us that there is a vision. The government launched the reinforced version of the Fiscal Consolidation Program with a view to maintain fiscal balance. Well, developments such as the Northern Metropolis and the River Loop have been given a boost. In terms of public spending, the government said that while maintaining public service, there will be enhancement in the productivity enhancement program. The reduction in cost will increase from 2% to 1% all the way to 27-28. Together with the 24-25 reduction, there will be an accumulated reduction of 7%. We need to put in place a sustainable reduction of recurrent expenditure to cushion the impact. In 25-26, executive, legislature, as well as civil servants, district councillors will have a pay freeze. This shows that civil servants have a sense of commitment to ride out the fiscal storm with the rest of Hong Kong. In 27-28, there will be an annual reduction of 2%. So there will be about a reduction of 10,000 civil servants posts. This is conducive to the upgrading and transformation of the civil service. This will be conducive to the building of pragmatic work culture. Well, the Inno Hong Kong has put in place a number of initiatives to support enterprises and projects. There is also the use of technology to enhance efficiency and operation of government departments. Some government departments have expanded the use of technologies to other departments. However, there is no statistics kept to gauge the effectiveness of these initiatives. The government said that there will be a consolidated performance indicators to assess the effectiveness. Say, for example, the efficiency enhanced, the amount saved, the number of the level of manpower saved. Well, we have to make use of the data so that we can better deploy resources and manpower. For public works, the expenditure will increase from $90 billion to $120 billion. This shows the government's plan to enhance development. There will be public works in the Northern Metropolis. Our economic development will attract enterprises to set up regional headquarters in Hong Kong. In terms of insurance, there are a number of initiatives in financial services and insurance sectors. There is the insurance link security initiatives put in place. The issuance of bonds will be increased to about $700 billion. The insurance sector actually has a large pool of capital. This will be the source of financing for the government. This will also be conducive to the development of one market in Hong Kong. We also have the risk-based capital system in place. We ask for the system to be enhanced to maintain our competitiveness. The insurance authority has been doing their work. They have asked insurance companies to enrich their asset allocation. This will boost development of our infrastructure. We ask the government to introduce the legislative amendments to maintain our competitiveness. This will consolidate our status as a risk management center. Well, our capital market has a value of about $40 trillion. This shows that we have plenty of strategic opportunities. The Hong Kong EX has started work to enhance our competitiveness. Well, there is a streamlining of listing requirements and procedure. There will be more enterprises coming to Hong Kong. Say, for example, INT, AI enterprises. There will be significant growth in our in our security market. I hope that our transaction volume will increase. This will increase stamp duty revenue. Stamp duty may amount to about $200 to $400 million a day. This will also attract our appeal as a international financial center. Well, in order to make the $2 transport scheme sustainable, there has been some adjustments. There is an annual savings of about $6.2 billion a year, was $620 million a year. On this basis, I think the government can make further adjustments to ensure that people's needs are taken care of while maintaining physical stability. The government has decided to adjust the stamp duty threshold. The value of the property, if it is $4 million, you pay $100 in stamp duty. It's increased from $3 million threshold. This will lighten the burden of home purchases of properties at a lower value. Well, when people buy properties, they have to pay a number of fees. So saving on stamp duty will help a lot. If the property has a value of over $4.3 million, then the arrangements for stamp duty payment is the same as now. This will curb speculation. There will be a revenue foregone of about $340 million. We hope that this will invigorate the activities in the property market. In the end, the government will receive more revenue. There is also initiatives to consider legalizing basketball betting. This will restore order in the betting market. This will also curb bookmaking of basketball betting. This will also generate revenue for the government. There has been a number of support measures in the budget. Rate waves, profits tax as well as salary tax, CSSA payment. Well, the amount is about $8.3 billion. This shows that the government cares for Hong Kong people. There is cost control measures in the budget. At the same time, there will be efforts to find new growth points. We'll all work together. I think that we can turn this deficit into an opportunity.
Mr. Sunny Tan. Thank you, President. I speak in support of the Appropriation Bill 2025. We are seeing changes in senior century. There are complicated geopolitical tensions. There are a lot of different uncertainties around the world. The U.S. increased tariffs, and it has damaged the supply chain around the world. We are a highly externally oriented economy. International trade is a cornerstone on which we base. So tariffs will impact on our industries in Hong Kong as well as the factories in Hong Kong. We have launched quite a number of measures to counter these tariffs. The Appropriation Bill on the Financial Secretary shows that we have the resolve to conduct reforms. The budget is pragmatic. It shows that the administration dares to invest in the future. It has taken on board a lot of different concrete views from the textile industry and the BPA. The supply chain will be reconstructed, and we need to develop a new development regime. We need to strengthen our position. We need to develop the core technologies. We are in the middle of economic transformation. According to government statistics, financial industry and the tourism sector in the past 4 years, there was a marked increase. For logistics and trade, however, it showed a downward trend. Tariffs brought a lot of uncertainties to Hong Kong and the world. We can see that the economy around the world will also face a downward risk as well as downward pressure. That's why I suggest the formulation of short, medium to long-term measures. We need to continue to capitalize on our role as a super connector and a value adder. We need to support traditional industries in their transformation and upgrading. We need to turn risks into opportunities. When it comes to medium to long-term strategies, I suggest that the administration should enhance different funding schemes. Bud Fund will receive an additional injection. I welcome this. Bud Fund is very important for the Hong Kong enterprises to expand. Against the backdrop of terrorist war, we can see that a lot of SMEs are actively preparing for the future. Say the Southeast Asian market, ASEAN, they are making preparation. The administration should continue to enhance the implementation details, streamlining procedures, and the procurement rules. This is effective in encouraging SMEs to expand their business and develop into other markets. We need to help companies to establish a stronger foothold. I suggest that the government should provide more free consultation services for companies. We should also work with different financial institutions to provide more comprehensive and diversified support for the industries in Hong Kong. We need to leverage on technology to drive the transformation and upgrading of industries. I'm glad to see measures mentioned under the budget. Traditional textile industry should contribute to the new quality productive forces. We also need to leverage on INT, and the administration should streamline the application procedures for a new industrialization scheme. More factories should be encouraged to provide custom-made smart production lines. There should also be more diverse R&D efforts. We need to develop our own Hong Kong products. We need to expedite the development of a new market in Hong Kong. We need to help our industries to develop brand. So from OEM to ODM, we need to expand the impact of supply chains as well as enhance their competitiveness. Last year, the Hong Kong Fashion Week attracted a lot of different overseas brands. They came to Hong Kong. They used Hong Kong as a platform, and this drove the development of the brands. The U.S. has been increasing tariffs on Hong Kong. There are uncertainties around the world. We need to enhance our connection with the world as well as with the mainland China. We need to deepen our collaboration with the mainland. There are many enterprises with a lot of potential in the mainland China. There are a total of 50 million enterprises. We need to work with the administration to provide support measures. We need to help mainland enterprises and mainland companies to form a cluster. We need to be proactive to attract more mainland enterprises to establish a foothold in Hong Kong. We need to help them develop to go global so that this will benefit and add further value to the supply chain in Hong Kong. The government should enhance its efforts in implementing the measures in the budget. As for the future development in the coming 1 to 2 decades, we need to prepare and plan well. More importantly, we need to invest in the future. We shouldn't address the problems when they arise. We do need to plan. So we need to develop the micro-event economy, and we also need to provide micro-event venues, or we need to have major tourist attractions. That's a way to invest in the future. The budget mentions that we need to consolidate financial resources and spend within expenditure. We need to increase revenue streams for the government. In the long run, we need to enhance the administrative efficiency of the government. We need to go digital. We need to coordinate different services provided by the government from the top level. We need to review if there is any duplication of manpower resources. We need to make sure every penny we spend is well spent. Director Xia Baolong said yesterday, no matter how the uncertainties are plaguing us, we still have the staunch support of our motherland. We'll continue to develop our economy, and we should help the government to boost the economy and enhance the prosperity in Hong Kong. We need to continue to help Hong Kong to develop. I support the Appropriation Bill 2025. Mr. Gary Chan, thank you, President. In the past year, the Hong Kong economy has been recovering steadily. The government launched a series of measures when it comes to developing the micro-event economy and attracting enterprises and talents. We have yielded quite some results. The budget revolves around the resolution of the third plenum in relation to International Shipping, Financial and Trading Center. We also foster the hub for high-caliber talents. A lot of resources have been devoted to these purposes. We boost the Hong Kong's economy with all these measures. The Financial Secretary launched the Enhanced Fiscal Consolidation Program to address the fiscal deficit of $100 billion. The government promotes the diverse economy and develops new quality productive forces. The government invests in the future. All these have responded to our suggestions, that is, the suggestions from the DAB. When it comes to making saving, the Financial Secretary has taken on board a lot of views from the DAB, including my own views. I have been calling a halt on the construction works of the district cooling system in the NDA. A total of $40 billion have been saved. From the district cooling system in Kai Tak, from the moment it was floated, I already said that the payback period will be very long. The cost effectiveness will remain uncertain. The repair and maintenance costs are very high every year. So from the perspective of technology and cost effectiveness, In the future, we're going to have a lot of different alternatives. The district cooling system construction works did not show any sense of urgency. There are alternatives with lower price tag. The halt of these systems will not affect the development of NDA. The financial secretary called a halt to the district cooling system, and this has a very positive impact on easing the pressure on the public fiscal position. We need to make timely adjustments and review in relation to current development projects. All these show respect for the views of society and those of the council. Then society and council will work together with the government to make savings and increase revenue streams. When it comes to increasing revenue streams, we need to boost the economy and improve livelihood. It's not just under the purview of the FSTB or the financial secretary. Instead, the entire government should work together. We have the Secretary for Education and the Secretary for Security with us here. The development of industries will help us increase revenue. The Secretary for Security recently did something very positive. He made adjustments to immigration policies. Disciplined forces maintain law and order in Hong Kong and protect the members of the public. At the same time, they may also contribute to the economy in Hong Kong. The Immigration Department worked on a scheme recently. In just a month, a total of 240 invitations have been sent. And that is the Immigration Facilitation Scheme for Invited Person, covering the aviation sector, the legal sector, and so on. Professionals were invited to Hong Kong to engage in investment. For instance, the Customs and Excise Department also worked to promote business facilitation schemes. Say we have an express lane for fresh produce, and that is what we call the airland fresh lane. All these facilitate the conduct of business, and all these will go towards forging a desirable business environment. In relation to environmental protection, whenever we talked about the Environment and Ecology Bureau, all we thought about was providing subventions to society. But actually, going green will help Hong Kong to develop our economy. We need to remove barriers, and this way we can inject new impetus to the Hong Kong economy. Say we had the gas safety ordinance in the second reading debate. It is aimed at removing barriers so that we will have more revenue. In the past, when the Environment and Ecology Bill worked on recycling, the Financial Secretary was asked to provide more funding to subsidize these efforts. However, under the Producer Responsibility Scheme, plastic bottles, paperboard cartons, the trend has been reversed. We started from the policy perspective, and we encourage the industry to use green materials. More importantly, we encourage the green industry to innovate and upgrade their own technology. That's how we contribute to the environmental protection efforts. Boosting the economy is not the only job for the Financial Secretary. Actually, we all work together. As long as the administration removes barriers and adjusts policies, quite a lot of revenue can be generated for the government. So apart from the three policy bureaus I just now mentioned, I hope other policy bureaus will also adopt a positive mindset to increase revenue streams for the government. International landscape has been changing. The U.S. imposed tariffs on different economies. We are an externally oriented economy, and we are in the face of unprecedented challenges. The tariff wars cause an impact on traditional industries in Hong Kong. In order to counter these challenges, we need to promote the diversification of local industries. We need to, for instance, forge collaboration ties with the Middle East and ASEAN countries. We need to attract more talents and enterprises to Hong Kong. These are very important, and there is a sense of urgency. The government needs to take a proactive approach and enhance efficiency to show the world we are an open and free economy. We also believe having connection with the world will help the local economy to develop. We can also make contributions to the country. Mega events and activities are held in Hong Kong. Every time we touch base with other countries, every time we interact with them, all these will cause an impact on how we are perceived. We attract enterprises to establish a foothold in Hong Kong. All these present good opportunities. The Financial Secretary said on his online blog that there have been major changes owing to tariffs of the US, but then a lot of enterprises and funds have chosen to stay in Hong Kong. This shows the level of confidence they have in Hong Kong. We have our staunch support from the motherland, and these are the good foundation we have. We need to become the stabilizing force of the global economy. Some countries sabotage the order that has been effective for a long time. But funds and money will flow towards stable economies. So as long as we stay connected to the world, connected to the motherland, and enjoy strong support of the motherland, we will definitely be able to help the local economy to develop. I speak in support of the Appropriation Bill 2025.
Professor William Wong. President, as we conduct second reading of the Appropriation Bill today, we are at the heat of the Sino-US trade war. It has gone on for a while, but on 2nd of April, the US imposed tariffs on 150 countries in the world. It has seriously disrupted world order. There were major fluctuations in financial markets. It has scared a lot of investors. As an international financial center, Hong Kong is undoubtedly affected as well. Donald Trump's policies change constantly. The markets cannot predict what is going to happen. It has seriously impeded investors' incentive to invest. Amid this geopolitical tension, Hong Kong is undoubtedly affected, but thanks to the forward planning of the country, we have been able to take targeted retaliatory action against U.S. measures. We have targeted measures from the country hitting the U.S. pillar industries such as agriculture. It shows how strong we are. As the second largest economy, China has shown its pride as a major country, leading other countries in resisting the U.S.'s aggression. Recently, President Xi visited Vietnam, Malaysia, and Cambodia to deepen ties with the countries. Also, we have some free trade agreements and an investment agreement with Europe signed. It shows China does not have to rely on the U.S. while expanding the social circle with other countries to build its own trade and financial network. China has shown solid foundations amid all this. We need to develop ourselves to aid in China's actions. We need to be flexible and resilient. We should maintain stability while trying to react and formulate targeted strategies to implement the budget to consolidate our competitiveness. President, this year's budget has seen some measures to take advantage of external opportunities while improving internal efficiency. On improving internal efficiency, I will talk about the promoting of the use of AI. In last year's government work report, AI Plus was proposed. And in this year's work report, Premier Li Qiang said specifically that we need to implement AI Plus initiative to enhance competitiveness of the country. This essentially meant that it has become a national strategy, and AI is core to our competitiveness. Investing in AI is investing in the future to lay down the foundations for relevant infrastructure. This will also help us in developing new growth areas. I thank the Financial Secretary for incorporating many of my suggestions on AI development, including setting up the Hong Kong AI R&D Institute, nurturing AI talents, and developing different use cases for the use of AI. The government's leadership in AI promotion is especially important. It is said in the budget for leadership training in civil service, there will be more content on AI. I very much support this. With the government taking the lead in using AI and leveraging on the potential on AI, this will help departments in taking up AI. Not only will it improve efficiency, it will also allow AI to benefit the public. We have many good policies regarding AI, but I hope in future the government will promulgate a comprehensive strategy for the development of AI in different areas of Hong Kong so that the government can enhance its efficiency. For the private sector, it will also help in enhancing cost effectiveness for them to develop new business and bring to them new revenue sources. In this year's budget, we have also seen some policies from the policy address. We have measures to support the development of the up, mid, downstream initiatives. We have various measures. We have a financing scheme. We also have the InnoCentres development. We also will have the completion of infrastructure and facilities of the Hetao Cooperation Zone. Infrastructural and various support will be provided. I therefore speak in support of the Appropriation Bill, and I look forward to the implementation of the various policies. However, we need to make sure the government has adequate manpower to implement the relevant measures so that we can successfully implement the initiatives. On leveraging on external opportunities, we should leverage on the opportunities brought about by the Global South Strategy and the Belt and Road Initiative of the country. We need to develop more markets. I'm very glad the Chief Executive has already plans to lead another delegation to visit the Middle East so as to develop our Middle Eastern and the Asian markets. I'm glad that there are concerted efforts from various sectors of the community. Recently, Mr. Duncan Chiu and I have been working with various bodies in the the Middle East to see how we can work together on some projects relating to technology to tap on more opportunities. We have advantages in various areas. We are well poised to develop into a superconductor in the digital era. We can continue to leverage on our connections with both the mainland and overseas. We also need to leverage on our unique advantage of having an institution of one country, two systems to help mainland companies go global. The country is currently developing the market and tackling the pain points in the circulation strategy. We should have measures to integrate into the country's large market and make contributions to economic development. While we're at war, there is no actual billowing smoke, but the war is definitely heated. We cannot just maintain the status quo. We need to react and be proactive in meeting challenges and make sure we leverage on our solid foundations. Thank you. I so submit speaking in support of the bill. Ms. Nixie Lam. Thank you, President. When faced with various challenges, geopolitics, and slow recovery of the market, as Director Xia Baolong said, we not only have to react to external challenges, we need to look within to develop new growth areas and be innovative in meeting upcoming challenges. I have long been paying close attention to youth issues. I have seen in the budget some targeted measures to help young talents integrate into the development of the country. We have various measures, some on youth planning, some on nurturing talents, some on promoting upward mobility of the youth. We have the GBA Youth Employment Scheme. The threshold has been relaxed to those at 28 years old, and we also have the subsidy being raised to an amount of $19,000. It would allow the young to have some cross-boundary work experience. This is very important because I actually worked at a youth exchange office for a while, and I have introduced a student to work at the Hengqin office, and they already earned $20,000. These seems to be quite good conditions, right? But they quit within 3 days. They said they wanted to stay in Hong Kong. It seems that their horizons were not broad enough. It may be a general assumption, but it may also apply to the young. We need to instill in them the idea that they can develop in other places as well. We also have ATR public bodies. They have 4,000 internship quotas for the young, and these work experiences would help the youngsters to learn more about the operations of the government and enhance awareness of them in public work. I think we need to provide more opportunities for the youth for trial and error in terms of entrepreneurship. And in the budget and policy address, we have various schemes. For example, we have from the Housing Bureau the Wellbeing Startup Program that will allow them to the young to set up shops in some housing estate premises to start their entrepreneurial initiatives. But I think more importantly, we need to make sure we can turn innovation into something sustainable. Recently, I met with a group of very well-known local toy designers, and many would queue for their products. They are earning a decent income right now. So now they are looking to nurture the other local designers and help other local designers go global. They have ideas, but how can we commercialize their products into something profitable and then develop this as an industry in order to upgrade the industry? Right now, for the toy industry, this is simply in the pipeline. This idea is far from maturity. They have tried to apply for government funding, but their applications were rejected. It seems that there's just something wrong with their filling out of the forms. While filling out forms may seem simple, but then there may be challenges faced by them. I think the government can provide simple support like this to help them. I also want to say this: in the long term, we have an aging population, a low fertility rate, as well as a low talent population. In terms of overall population policy, we need a concrete direction, and there has yet to be a concrete direction. With long-term economic growth and stability, we need direction in population policy. We have a fertility rate of 0.77. It is far from enough to replenish our population. It is also not enough for us to consolidate our labor force. So how should we play in our next step? We need to make sure we have policies to lead by example. The government already has some policies to encourage childbirth. Since last April, we have some working family subsidies. We also have childcare subsidies increased by 15% to increase the quality of living of families. We also have some tax concessions as well as parental leave arrangements. I believe with the various measures, we are moving towards something good. On talents, we have a series of measures that are being implemented. I think with the measures in these two areas, we will be able to achieve synergy. So 1 + 1 may be higher than 2. But as I said earlier, we lack direction in population policy, as I said on other occasions in the council before. I think with the overall strategy, we really need to think about this. On women development, we have a relatively high status of females in Hong Kong. I recently attended a forum in Malaysia. This is not exactly an issue. We do have equal status for females and males in Hong Kong. But I think for the women who have achieved a lot in Hong Kong, how can we have them take the lead and inspire other people? We have the Women Empowerment Fund that have various projects, as well as the She Inspires program that will have some female leaders become mentors to female university students. I think this is appreciated because we will have women build a network. And I am saying this for government activities. Often we would engage larger bodies, but some industries, they are very influential and they have female leaders in those industries. I think we need to try to engage these women leaders to help the youth, especially young women. So apart from the traditional approaches, I think we can be innovative. We have all along been quite flexible Hong Kongers, and I think we need to relax restrictions to consolidate our safety net. The investment corporation has already invested in 90 INT enterprises to nurture the growth so as to support transformation of the traditional pillar industries. With the current fiscal position of Hong Kong, I think we need to be patient. We also need enterprises to stand on the government side so that we can strive for economic development. I also have been speaking in support of the Appropriation Bill. Dr. Teck Yun.
President, I am from the social welfare sector. I must point out that the government reduced expenditure on social welfare across the board. This fails to provide a secure safety net for Hong Kong people. I understand that there is a need to reform manpower structure as well as various areas. But in the process, we need to ensure social benefits. The government should not, without considering the needs of individual sectors, introduce an across-the-board cut. This is not in line with social benefits. An expert, Stephen Kamen of Harvard University, conducted a study. It's found that if there is a different allocation of resources, allowing different sectors to make adjustments is much better in the maintenance of service quality than an across-the-board reduction. Departments are different. For social welfare sector, there is a very little room for further reduction. Any further reduction will fail to maintain a safety net for people. The government advocates the principle that those who can afford it should pay. But what they're doing is not in line with what they advocate. With a lump sum grant in place, there has been about 10% cuts in resources in our sector. However, they still have to deliver 100% of their services. We need to take into account changes in our demography, the fact that we have an aging population, there is a larger population of people with disabilities, and more people are in need of care. Our sector has been delivering more. We can't have another expenditure cut. Our sector provides interpersonal services. 80% of the expenditure is to pay wages. Further reduction means a cut in manpower or salary. Well, a cut by 7% is about $1.5 billion, which translates into 3,000 social workers. This will dampen morale and undermine service quality. The government's role is to promote social and economic development. By making use of public finances and allocational resources, the government should make sure that different stratum in society will be protected. The government indeed spends a large amount on social welfare because of an increasing need. As I said, we have a widening wealth gap, reduction in social mobility, aging population, difficulties faced by people with disability, and the increasing need of carers. The government's duty is to take care of those in need. The government should spend where it's needed, taking into account social benefits as well as necessity. A cut will mean that the underprivileged will not get the care they need. Grassroots should not be sacrificed. There should be a more balanced reform approach. Initiatives should not undermine the otherwise sound safety net built over the years. The government needs to be committed in caring for the underprivileged. This is one of the social goals to achieve social equality. There is an across-the-board cut which puts tremendous pressure on the social welfare sector. Still, I would like to say something good about the Financial Secretary. Well, the Secretary for Labor and Welfare has made adjustments. The 7% has been reduced to 3%. He's also taken on board our suggestions. He's removed barriers. He has streamlined arrangements of cost allocation as well as the social of the service quality standards. This alleviates administrative cost. More autonomy is also given to different bodies. Say, for example, enhancement of the subsidy for the offsetting of MPF. I hope that the government will continue to talk to the sector. This will help find more solutions. Say, for example, there should be enhancement in the e-service of our sector. This will reduce manpower needs. The private sector should be mobilized. Private enterprises should be encouraged to take part in social welfare work. In this way, more grassroots people will benefit. We have a heavy financial burden. I appeal to the government as well as different organizations not to lay off their staff members. In the past, this seems to be the only solution. As a result, morale was severely affected. It also caused conflicts between frontline workers as well as vis-a-vis the management. We have a deficit. The FS asked the social welfare sector to work with everyone else. Well, next year, the year after, we ask that when our finances become stable, please think about the difficulties faced by us. Please remove the tightening measures so that we have better conditions to meet the needs of everyone in our society. Thank you. Mr. Edward Lau. I will focus on industrialization as well as the Northern Metropolis. I'm happy to see a number of initiatives, funding schemes to promote the development of the Northern Metropolis. I really agree with what the FS said. There should not be an over-reliance of land revenue. I hope that the slogan can be translated into actions. I will elaborate later. We have a shortage in housing and land supply. Our society is affected. The Northern Metropolis is an important growth engine in the coming 2 decades. It will address housing shortage, and it also is a growth area in a number of areas, say, for example, INT. This will boost our long-term competitiveness as well as the well-being of Hong Kong people. The government said that there will be a streamlining development progress, increase in funding supply. I think there can be more. More can be done. We need to think out of the box. We need to embrace innovation technology. When we cut costs, we have to develop multiple growth points. This is very important in boosting our development drive. The university town in the Northern Metropolis should be expedited. When it comes to green development, I have some suggestions. First, to release the potential of land in the Northern Metropolis. We all know about the importance of the Northern Metropolis. Well, it can house $2.5 billion, creating 650,000 jobs. We have high expectations. Some people think that the development is a bit slow. But we need to bear in mind the general situation, the 2023 action plan, as well as the development plan. Northern Metropolis is not developing slowly. Compared to other new development areas, I think the pace is fast. It's being implemented on schedule. Well, there was the outline development plan of a number of new development areas, and then there is land acquisition. Everything is being done on schedule. It gives the impression that it's slow because of the current property market and economic situation. The private sector may not have put in as much effort as we've expected. Perhaps we can make use of measures to increase flexibility, to enable the private sector to participate more actively. They can work with the government to expedite development of the northern metropolis. I've made a number of suggestions to the Secretary for Development. Say, for example, saving some areas for future development, setting aside land for industrial development, and special conditions for use of land. The market situation should be taken into account. There should be a dynamic planning to expedite development. When it comes to moving away from the reliance on land revenue, the government should change its mindset. In the past, we've only focused on short-term maximum revenue. That means the government's aiming for maximizing development benefit. But now we need to do it differently. Land is a vehicle to grow industries, and industries will add value to our economy. In this way, land will become our economic drive. So now industry should come first, not land. I hope there can be more flexibility incorporated to enable the private sector to participate. Infrastructure, road network should be put in place. Private sector can make use of temporary structures to expedite development. Well, there were 3 large-scale developments announced. 22 expressions of interest have been received. Now the government's going to consider the details of the tender exercise. We see interest from the market. They agree with this development approach. I asked the government to listen to the views of the market. Say, for example, adjusting the development parameters of these areas, building in more flexibility in the use of land. Well, there should be a dual envelope approach instead of the tender going to the highest bidder. New financing mode can be used. The views of the market should be taken into account in the tender exercise. In Yuen Long South and Hung Shui Kiu, Hachun, there are multi-story industrial buildings. There are restrictions. We don't want that. I mentioned about dynamic planning. 3 areas will be reserved for the development of University Town. Area of about 46 hectares in Gautame, 40 hectares, as well as another 5 hectares of land at other locations. The University Town is a core development area in the northern metropolis. There should be consolidation of land development for development of academic, industry, and residential. In 2018, the plan was put in place. It's been 7 years. At that time, 5 hectares of land was reserved for local education use. That's not enough for a university town. In Hung Shui Kiu, we see the best condition compared to Gautame and NT North, that is Takuleng. Land acquisition has been completed, so land is readily available. By 2030, Hongshui-Kyu Station will be built. It's only 500 meters away from the university town. The Secretary for Education is here. I hope that the Hongshui-Kyu Hachun University Town should be commissioned first. A number of local and overseas universities expressed an interest. 5 hectares of land is not enough. I recently made a suggestion that 5 hectares can become 48 hectares by land amalgamation. That will be sufficient for development. I hope I will have an opportunity to meet with the Secretary in this regard. Now, well, I hope that there should be streamlined development and cost control. I'm happy to see the relevant working groups launching over 100 initiatives. I hope all civil servants involved know the importance of streamlining the procedure as well as the use of technology. We need to make use of technology to encourage development of green industry. Say, for example, wasteless Bay Area, new energy. This will help us achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. It will also boost the competitiveness of our industries. This is a necessary path. For new materials and new energy, these are major trends. I hope the government will continue its effort to expedite the quality and pace of the Northern Metropolis.
Mr. Chen Pui-Leung. Thank you, President. The budget this year talks about reinforcing the fiscal consolidation program. We need to increase revenue and make saving. I support this move. The budget has taken on board some of my views, say enhance the fiscal consolidation program and make adjustments and reduction in the civil service. The administration responded to our views in relation to gambling tax for basketball. We need to increase tax revenue for the government while at the same time combating bookmaking. The government should issue sustainability and infrastructure bond at $150 billion to $190 billion. This is within our control. We can boost the development and can also improve livelihood at the same time. But I have to point out, with the current fiscal position, the government need to expand revenue streams and increase government revenue. The budget mentions increasing the fees for talent emission schemes as well as air passenger departure tax. A total of $5 billion will be generated for the government. But then this is simply a drop in the bucket in relation to these revenue. In relation to traffic offenses, the penalties were last adjusted in 2018. The police should review the situation and should consider increasing the penalty level. The government should also draw reference from law enforcement agencies in relation to speeding offenses. The figures have been on the high side. Speeding ranked the first in relation to traffic offenses, but then the penalty only ranges from $320 and $1,000. The penalty hasn't been adjusted for a long time. The safety of road users should be protected. One of the focuses of the budget is to review the $2 transport scheme. Last week, in a special finance committee meeting, the administration said that the cost of reconfiguring Octopus machine will cost about $60 million, some 1/10 on the total expenditure. The government will be responsible for 2/3 of the expenditure. I believe the administrative expenditure is on the high side. The administration needs to bear some burden, despite the fact that the octopus company will bear some of the burden. In 2022, the age threshold was adjusted downwards to 60. In 2022, the recurrent expenditure was about $75 million. In August last year, the Joyu card was, while Joyu card replaced Octopus card, the recurring expenditure was about $94 million. The 3 rounds of adjustments cost a total of $229 million. This involved a lot of manpower resources as well as financial resources. Technologies are changing rapidly, and this is baffling and unacceptable. The administration should study with the Octopus company to see how to make the technology digital. Updates should be made in a remote manner in order to reduce expenditure. The geopolitical landscape is unsteady. This month, the U.S. damaged the economic and trade order. The U.S. imposed tariff hike, including the very high tariff on Hong Kong. This will affect the economic development of China, not least goods exports. So we need to stabilize investment. This will go a long way towards helping the mainland economy. We should continue to uphold the free trade policy and keep our favorable business environment. We need to capitalize on the vast market of mainland China. We also need to deepen our collaboration with mainland China. But owing to changes in the overall macro environment, the administration needs to review some of the proposals under the budget. In relation to the $200 fee on boundary facility fee, the cost will increase to $700 per trip. This will affect the desire of Hong Kongers to go north to spend, especially for people who need to use the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge often. The vehicles going south scheme is in a pipeline. Has the administration talked to the mainland counterpart? For northbound or southbound vehicle schemes, the purposes of these schemes are to deepen the collaboration between the two places. They are also aimed at facilitating business across the two places. This measure doesn't help the public coffers a lot, but then this will affect the general direction of Hong Kong being integrated into the national development. With a lower vehicular flow, then we will lose more than we can earn. So I suggest that the administration should scrap the proposal of charging the boundary facility fee of $200. At present, most revenue sources are volatile owing to the geopolitical situation. I believe we need to address the problem of tax-based issues. We need to ensure the sustainability and rationality of the public finance system. We haven't reviewed the tax system or tax regime in Hong Kong for a long time. Different tax regimes are introduced in different jurisdictions in order to ensure the sustainability of public finance system. I believe we need to study adjustments to the tax regime system in a timely manner. This is a means to ensure the sustainability of public finance. President, I support the Appropriation Bill 2025. Mr. Edmund Wong. President, The international geopolitical situation is unstable. We are in the face of fiscal deficit. We are probably in the worst time ever. But then at the same time, we are in the best time. We are the most open and free international financial center in the world, in China. President Donald Trump announced tariff hikes on Hong Kong as well as other jurisdictions. These sent shockwaves in the world. We are affected, but despite this, our financial system remains robust. This shows the robustness of our financial system with not many funds leaving Hong Kong. Hong Kong has a strong support of the motherland, and we are also connected with the world. This is our advantage. As long as we can consolidate our strengths and conduct reforms, we may leverage on the opportunities to embrace the best time ever. Internally, the most important issue facing the Hong Kong government is the fiscal deficit. So earlier on, when the financial secretary announced the budget, I proposed to review the use of financial resources. I hoped that the council will help to enhance the administrative efficiency of the government. At the same time, we also want to help the administration to increase revenue streams. In the budget this year, the Financial Secretary, Mr. Paul Chan, talked about a lot of initiatives to increase revenue streams, including imposing pay freezes for all civil servants as well as the legislature and exco. This will lead to a 7% reduction in the recurring expenditure. A total of 10,000 civil service posts will be reduced. There were also announcements in relation to the $2 transport scheme. The Financial Secretary didn't announce any pay cut for all civil servants, but then pay freeze announced by the Financial Secretary may lead to wage reduction in the private market. This may cause a negative impact on the private sector. I believe the pay freeze announced by the Financial Secretary is already a bold move. We need to make good use of AI to replace some of the manpower, and we need to look into reducing or downsizing the manpower of the civil service. This way we can enhance our efficiency and increase revenue for the government at the same time. We also need to enhance the financial structure of the government so that we may spend within the limits of our expenditure, and we need to save only when it is needed. We need to attract more enterprises and capital to Hong Kong so that we can leverage on our position to take part in the construction of One Belt, One Road. The company redomiciliation mechanism is in place. In 2024, there will be company amendment bill. The bill is in the final stretch, and we are moving towards attracting enterprises to Hong Kong. In the budget of the Financial Secretary, the attack was proposed. That is to attract more mainland enterprises to come to Hong Kong. This will help Hong Kong to become an offshore renminbi center with the implementation of the Technology Enterprises Channel. Tax concessions were proposed in the budget. All these are worth our support. I'm glad to see these moves. Virtual assets should be included in the eligible transaction types in order to promote the development of virtual asset market and Web3. Family offices and Hong Kong funds should also be enhanced in relation to their competitive edge. Family offices should receive tax concessions in order to help them develop. I'd also like to talk about the northern metropolis. In the coming 5 years, every year there will be bond issuance of between $150 billion and $195 billion. The northern metropolis is the main engine for growth for the INT industry. We need to make sure the development of the northern metropolis won't be affected by the fiscal position of the administration. This is very important to the long-term development of Hong Kong. The debt to GDP ratio is only 11.3%. Our debt will only rise to 16.5% if we put in place all the measures mentioned in the budget. This is far lower than other economies, say the US and so on. They are 100%. Well, we can at the same time promote the development of the securities market and improve the system for financial products. This is one stone killing many birds. We need to issue a wider range of products. Institutional investors attach more importance to hedging. The tenure should be as long as 30 years. The term could be between 10 years and 15 years in order to attract more members of the public to take part in these schemes. They will enjoy a higher sense of gain. Despite the difficult situation we're in, we're bound to face even more challenges in the future. But then we enjoy the staunch support of our motherland. In the past, we've overcome one challenge after another. As long as we consolidate our strengths, and then as long as we work with different quarters of society, we may seize upon the opportunities to upgrade from super connector to super value adder. We definitely embrace a better age in the future. I also submit I support the Appropriation Bill.
Mr. Jimmy Thank you, Deputy President. I speak in support of the Appropriation Bill. Let me be honest here. The Financial Secretary's budget does not have as much of a bang as the years before, but it shows how the Financial Secretary is adopting an approach to maintain stability while pursuing progress. And we have seen a fiscal deficit in recent years. It is a priority now that we eliminate this deficit. We need to make sure every penny is well spent. We also need to make sure we're developing new sources while trying to save on costs. I would like to focus my speech on 4 areas: innovation, development, connecting within, and connecting with the outside. There is a dedicated chapter in the budget on INT. To develop INT, we need investment first. We will soon have the INT accelerator scheme that is $180 million. We also have other initiatives that would funnel the INT fund to better invest in prominent INT projects that have great potential. I have also been paying close attention to the development of Inno Hong Kong because it relates to the potential of commercialization. It is said that we will have a third Inno Hong Kong cluster on advanced manufacturing. I really appreciate that. Development of AI is commonly discussed in different parts of the world, and computational power would come in very important. I actually read a interview done by Professor Sun Dong, and it is said in the Cyberport Supercomputing Center, they should be able to provide 3,000 petaflops in computational power. It may seem like a lot, but then it may not be enough to catch up with our future computational needs. According to some media reports, in 2030, this supercomputing center can only meet 20% of the computational needs in Hong Kong. I suggest after the commissioning of the Hotel Cooperation Zone Park, we need to engage the services of mainland computing centers. This will not only help us meet the needs of Hong Kong, this will also help better integrate our system with the mainland on computational sharing, power sharing. And it is said in Hong Kong it will try to develop more ties with the Middle East and ASEAN countries to have more fund arrangements. There will also be other measures to promote digital bonds, as well as promote investment from family offices and to have more RMB denominated stocks. I appreciate all these. Premier Li Chang said in this year's government work report, we need to stabilize the property and stock markets against external fluctuations. With more fluctuations, we need to make sure we inject vitality into the stock market to create more opportunities. The BPA said earlier for China concept stocks, many of them want to quit the US market. We need to pay close attention to try to attract them to list in the Hong Kong market. The financial secretary also said the SFC and the HKEX to be prepared to make Hong Kong the primary destination for these China concept stock companies. Thirdly, on connecting within, in order to promote development of Hong Kong, we need to work with other cities of the Greater Bay Area. Connecting within is very important. The financial secretary talked much about deepening integration with the Greater Bay Area. One of them is on data sharing. We have now standard contracts for promoting data flow. This will help ensure data would flow in accordance with the relevant standards, and this approach is definitely appreciated and should be a reference for other industries. But I think we should not be limited to this. We need to make sure in the long term we have cross-boundary data flowing. We should have a regulatory framework. We also need to have a framework for the flow of multiple input factors, including manpower. But right now, we have an initiative in the budget that is the imposing of boundary facilities fees that may go against this policy intent. We have many people going to the mainland on a daily basis to inspect their business or to convey their staff members, and the cost can get quite high if they have to travel between mainland and Hong Kong on a daily basis. The charging of this fee is not conducive to our integration into the Greater Bay Area. I urge the government to reconsider this measure. For on connecting with the outside, we have geopolitical tensions that have been clouding the development of the economy, and the other BPA members and I have conveyed to the government concerns about the imposition of tariffs on SMEs. I'm glad to hear that the Export Credit Insurance Corporation has promulgated last week some measures to help SMEs. We have various challenges ahead. I believe the financial secretary and his team will pay close attention to make sure support measures are promulgated to help those in need. Support measures are, of course, important, but I think in the long term, we need to make sure we can rise up to the challenges posed by the U.S. We need to try to develop new markets. That is the way to go. There are two levels to this. One, we need to deepen ties, expanding our social circle. In the policy address, it said that we will expand our positioning and strategy to work with Malaysia and Saudi Arabia and set up ETOs in these places, and in Egypt, Turkey, and another country, we have also set up some consultant offices. We should continue to expand our network in other countries to help Hong Kong companies develop new businesses. connecting with the outside would also mean helping mainland companies go global. In the budget, it is said that we will have more measures to help mainland companies go global. We do see mainland companies face more challenges amid geopolitical tensions. I think Hong Kong companies and mainland companies should work together to go global together. We should also enhance awareness on the various support measures available. Earlier this year, I talked about 3 determinations and 2 things that we should pay attention. First, we need to promulgate a timetable. We need to have a timetable for implementation of initiatives. We also need to be determined to improve connections within and connections with the outside. We also need to be determined to develop and keep abreast with the times, because we may be left behind if we don't. 2 things we have to pay attention. We need to maintain stability while pursuing progress. We need to have regard to local circumstances. All support measures should come in a timely manner and would be to meet the relevant challenges. We will have the Easter holiday this weekend. I hope the various measures in the budget would help us attract more investment and companies so as to vitalize the economy. Thank you, Ms. Yong Hua Yan. Thank you, Deputy President. I'm very satisfied with the budget. We are faced with a lot of challenges in public finance, and the government has tried its best to strive for fiscal balance under one country, 2 systems, and we have a sound financial system. We have tried hard and we have achieved to a certain extent stabilizing the economy. I would like to focus my speech on 3 areas today. First of all, on AI. I very much support what is said in the budget that we will have a $1 billion initiative to support the setting up of the HK AI R&D Institute, and I have actually published a document recently to say we need to set up an AI R&D center to promote the development of AI in up, mid, and downstream applications, because with the development of AI in Hong Kong, we are focusing on applications. We do not do much in algorithm or this computational powers. We already have a supercomputing center, but we are still lagging behind in terms of computational power. We need to make sure we tackle this pain point in future. We need to have more AI infrastructure, and we need to invest in such infrastructure. We also need to have more data centers. We also can leverage on the support of the country and leverage on the various resources of the country, such as the large language model or the computational centers. We also need to make sure there is coordination to avoid duplication of investment in infrastructure. We can also work with mainland's leading AI enterprises, set up partnerships so that we can introduce the latest AI technologies from these enterprises into Hong Kong. And we can also leverage on the strengths when we set up the AI R&D Center. We can perhaps help promulgate the relevant standards. We should also have regard to what is available on the market and regulate conduct in the market to prevent unhealthy competition and promote healthy development of the industry. We should also make sure there should not be duplication of AI development efforts. We should take a market-oriented approach. We need to have a hub of AI talents, develop more AI applications. We should also have an AI Youth Summit, the International Young Scientists Forum on AI. These initiatives are all appreciated. I hope that in the interim period, we can work with the leading AI enterprises to nurture talents. We can have more master's and doctoral programs in AI to provide more study pathways for students in AI. We should also have various trial schemes to test out different applications for subjects to be studied on the primary and secondary levels so that we have a comprehensive study pathway from primary level to the tertiary level to nurture talents in AI. On low altitude economy. It is an innovative application. It has great potential. I very much support the work of the working group on developing low altitude economy. I also support the government's work to review civil aviation related legislation to provide for a regulatory framework. And within this year, we will also see some amendments to be made to unmanned aircraft related legislation. I appreciate all these because we would make sure we would promote the development of low altitude economy while providing for a regulatory framework. I hope the government will also streamline the relevant processing of applications to make sure we are leveraging on our low altitude airspace. We have to promote tourism. We have great advantages. We have rich island and cultural resources. If we can develop low altitude tourism applications to enrich the tourism experience, that would be ideal. We also have some low altitude logistics applications. The government has promulgated a regulatory sandbox. Many projects are being tested. I hope that we can move fast to have more targeted applications for Hong Kong. Hong Kong has a dense population and we have great needs for logistics services. If we can make good use of the applications, I believe they can be of great use in Hong Kong. We also need to refine the infrastructure, charging centers, maintenance centers for low altitude economy applications or for other applications as well. And I was asking the government how many infrastructure projects will we have in the future in relation to low altitude economy and their costs. The government's reply was that they have to wait until the regulatory sandbox is completed before they formulate long-term plans for infrastructure and legislation as well as regulatory framework. I urge the government to expedite such work and promote the development of low altitude economy. Lastly, on low Earth orbit satellites, in this year's budget, it is pointed out to be a new trend. I think the government needs to make sure we are developing commercial satellite applications, say for meteorological and commercial purposes, that will bring about benefit to the public and enterprises. This can also probably provide stable connections to enterprises or applications in remote areas. For 5G and 6G connections right now in remote areas for say certain hiking trails, they are not connected to the network. Hoping with satellites we will have connections in these areas as well. I believe with satellites we should also facilitate the development in tourism. With more stable network connections, this will form foundations of development in society. With the rapid development in AI, we have a greater need for real-time data. With more stable network connections, it will help with real-time data analyses, logistics, transport applications that would require real-time updates to data. Low Earth orbit satellites can really help with the development of Hong Kong as a smart city as a whole and will bring about great benefits to the public and enterprises. The government is going to streamline the processing of applications of low Earth orbit satellites. I definitely appreciate that because that would facilitate enterprises. We also need to leverage on our strengths as an international financial center and make good use of our financial system, sound legal system to provide more financial support to the low Earth orbit satellite operators. When supporting the relevant industry, it will also help coordination and cooperation among Hong Kong and other mainland cities of the GBA as well as the rest of the country. We need to make sure we are promoting the regulatory framework of the low Earth orbit satellite applications. We do not have adequate awareness at the moment. We need to make sure we have a regulatory regime to regulate the conduct of LEOS operators. We also have in future that may be more commercial disputes as there are more satellites. If we can enhance research in relevant legal areas, it should help us in providing relevant dispute resolution services. I think with the three areas I mentioned, they are important to the development of Hong Kong. Not only do they bring great benefits to the public, that will also help boost the economy. I urge the government to heed my suggestions, consolidate resources, develop these new growth areas, help Hong Kong move to the next stage and solidify our foundations amid challenges ahead and bring great benefits to the public. Mr. Jeffrey Lam.
主席。
Thank you, Madam Deputy. Hong Kong is an externally oriented economy. Well, given the uncertainty in global economy as well as protectionism, we need to brace ourselves in the face of uncertainties. But this is also a chance for us to strengthen our economy. We may have a deficit. Still, the government promotes AI development and the use of AI. We're working on new quality productive forces and attracting enterprises and talents. So when it comes to all these areas, as well as invest in the future, we're doing the right thing. The government also wants high-level opening up. Hong Kong is the most open city. We are a super value adder and super connector. We have to play our role well to attract enterprises and help mainland enterprises go global. Our future is intertwined with that of the mainland. We need to consolidate our status as a logistics, shipping, and aviation center. We have to protect our interest. We have to protect justice. Hong Kong should take another step forward to further integrate into national development. We have to rely on our country as well as further cooperation with the rest of the world. The budget talks about attracting enterprises and talents, and there are a series of measures doing this. I strongly support it. I'm glad to see in the budget that that the Invest Hong Kong will provide coordinating efforts to enable airplane dismantling, repair, maintenance, training, etc. Hong Kong will be the first airport dismantling and component repair center. This will strengthen our status as a logistics center. Hong Kong is a good place to invest. This will boost investors' confidence to come here. We face keen competition when it comes to attracting enterprises and investors. We have to be fast. We have to provide tailor-made service. We have to be versatile. We provide infrastructure and suitable land parcels for enterprises that is necessary. When we attract enterprises, we need to take into account their needs to flexibly handle the provision of land. We need to provide incentives. We need to remove barriers, expedite the application process. We don't want to lose out to our competitors. Given the uncertainty, our country advocates multilateral cooperation. We have to strengthen cooperation with GPA cities. The business sector should reach out to expand, to develop new markets. It's not an easy task, especially when there is insufficient information. Enterprises may not be bold enough to reach out. I'm glad that government has taken on board our views by making use of ECIC to strengthen support to Hong Kong exporters. An enhanced level of credit is provided. The threshold for free credit check is enhanced. The coverage is expanded to the Middle East as well as ASEAN countries. This gives confidence to the sector. Last week, the ECIC announced further measures to increase insurance coverage for SMEs. For emerging markets, the insurance premium has been reduced to conventional markets, at the level of conventional markets. This provides more comprehensive insurance coverage to enterprises. It also gives enterprises to be bold. When you go to a new place, you encounter cultural differences and difference in practice. When I went to do business in South America, it was difficult for me and I had to hire bodyguards. I'm glad to hear that the government's actively working with Saudi Arabian and Malaysian government to establish ETOs. I hope ETOs will provide further support to enterprises. We may be working hard to find new markets, but there is still internal risks. As the budget pointed out, the geopolitical tension has brought uncertainties. In recent days, the U.S. has increased tariffs, which has badly damaged our trade. Hong Kong enterprises have been asked to shoulder parts of the tariffs. They've also been asked to delay shipment. This caused difficulties in the cash flow. A lot of companies told me that they wanted to save their business, so they had to put up with these unreasonable requests. Some have to go to set up base in Southeast Asian countries. They are facing tremendous difficulties. Well, if America is being unreasonable, then you should not kneel. I asked the government to provide better assistance and to provide a timely assistance by, say, deferring their repayment. I'm glad that some banks have offered further support. They have extended the principal moratorium period. I suggest that it should be extended by 12 months to give enterprises some breathing space. Principal officials and civil servants will see a pay rise. The BPA understands and supports it. This shows that we're all in it together. We're all committed to ride out the storm. Pay freeze is only a band-aid. In the long run, we need to enhance the structure. We need to streamline process and make the establishment leaner. Perhaps reference should be drawn from the private sector. Performance-based management should be put in place. Those who are competent will be given more duties. AI should be used further. Well, this is AI, not A1. I need to emphasize that. Resources should be used in social welfare and to improve people's livelihood. I believe that when the business sector, the government, and the civic society work together, we'll be able to ride out the storm. The U.S. is challenging the global order. A lot of people believe that there will be a great recession in the U.S. economy. As long as we stay connected with the world and get support from our country, we will be able to prosper with our country. I support the inclusion of the heads, and I also support the Appropriation Bill. Thank you. Mr. Stanley Lee. I'm speaking on the Appropriation Bill 2025. I really appreciate the government's effort in coming up with a pragmatic budget given the difficult times we're facing. I thank the government for taking on board suggestions from the DAB. I'd like to speak on a number of areas that people care about. First, $2 transport scheme and its adjustments. The government proposes to reduce the number of trips to 240, and for fare that's above $10, it'll be people will have to pay 20%. The adjustments will come into place earlier, saving about $260 million. People wonder whether it's an overhaul just to save a tiny sum. I think the intention itself is commendable. Those between 64 and 66, they travel more than those above the age of 70. Young olds are active. They have purchasing power. Some of them haven't even retired. Of course, it will take more trips. But now we have an aging society. We need young olds to work. We would like them to stay active. They are experienced in life and in work. They will plug a huge gap in our society. They are a major drive in our economic development. In the mainland, we see active initiatives to develop the silver-haired economy. In 2024, there was a work plan and comment in this regard. It's the first policy on the mainland to support the silver economy. The government set up a working group. We want to release the potential of the silver economy. $2 is a supporting measure to develop the silver economy. Elderly people, if they travel more, that means more revenue for public transport operators. The government needs to talk to public transport operators to get them to fulfill their corporate social responsibility. Perhaps they can reduce the government subsidy. I think I'll leave it to the operators and the government. There are discussions as to the basis of the fare discount, whether it should be full fare or half fare. I asked the government to be a good gatekeeper. According to a survey that in 2018, there were about 74.5% of old people that have encountered accidents. The government has been using home aging as the backbone in order to reduce the risk of injury from tripping and fall. Design for homes of the elderly should be improved. We have made some suggestions. The home assessment should be included in the assessment mechanism. There should be promotion of inclusive design. favorable conditions should be forged for the private sector to build elderly-friendly properties. Our demographic changes should be taken into account in the adjustment of social services. Need to make an assessment of the use of public space. We also need to enhance elderly friendliness of different facilities. Well, there is a group. They are young olds. They were born in the 1960s and they're now in their 60s. Well, we have to help them with the financial management, say, for example, to help them add value to their assets. Do we have products that are catered for the elderly? Are there products for the elderly to invest in by giving them confidence? We need to set elderly standards. There are more and more Hong Kong people retiring in the mainland. Between 2020 and 2023, those who are above the age of 65 living in Guangdong province stands at 87 to 89,000 people. Governments put in place a number of measures to support this group. That's in the form of residential care homes, healthcare support, as well as portable welfare benefits. The number of residential care homes participating in the Guangdong residential scheme has increased from 2 to 60 to 2 to 11. It's not easy to work out to expand the scheme with it. As at end of last year, only 316 elderly people are staying in these homes. Only 23 of them stayed in Shenzhen. 3 homes are in Foshan and Guangzhou. So far, no Hong Kong elderly residents are staying there. Has the government looked into the reason why? Is it because there is a lack of publicity? The information is not known? Or is it that elderly people have doubts and are not confident enough to enroll to stay in these homes? The government should talk to commissions and ministries on the mainland to set up residential care homes with a Hong Kong standard. This will give Hong Kong residents confidence to make a choice and stay there. More support should be given to elderly people living on the mainland in terms of healthcare. Now I would like to move on. Innovation and technology. In the 14th Five-Year Plan, it is expressly stated that the CPG provides support to Hong Kong so we can develop into an R&D center. In this regard, every year Hong Kong puts in over $10 billion. From 2015 till now, the total input has exceeded $100 billion. We want to create synergy. We want to maximize the dollar to make it more than that. We hope that there will be commercialization in Hong Kong of these R&D efforts. Of course, we would like R&D efforts to be known to the rest of the world. But a lot of Hong Kong people said that we have put in a lot of money in R&D, but Hong Kong people don't benefit from it. We need to find ways to let Hong Kong people, to make Hong Kong people feel that they also share the fruits of INT development. I'm from NT Northeast. That's my constituency. I follow the development direction of that area. Well, the transport near High Island Reservoir is quite bad. I asked relevant department to do something about it. There are more cities covered under the individual visit scheme. I'm sure that a lot of tourist attractions will receive more visitors. We need to provide a better visitor experience. I asked the government to implement the initiatives and make improvements. More supporting measures should be put in place. I support the budget.
Mr. Ankong. Thank you, Deputy President. I speak in support of the Appropriation Bill 2025. We are an open port. We are an international open port. These are the irreplaceable advantage we have. We have these multiple roles, and these are underpinned by 4 principles: strategic global connections, institutional legal protection, collaboration among different industries, and open and inclusive society alongside its resilience. The budget needs to address the challenges we are facing, but it also needs to be forward-looking. We need to turn traditional strengths into new momentum. The geopolitical tensions are mounting. There are also livelihood issues in Hong Kong. The budget proposes to reform and to leverage on technology to invest in our future. The administration is pragmatic. There are a host of measures to improve the fiscal position in Hong Kong so that we will achieve a fiscal balance. This budget focuses on industries, say GPA collaboration and green economy. A range of measures were proposed to innovate. These measures are worth our recognition. The government has been attracting enterprises and talents. Oasis has already introduced or attracted 66 enterprises into Hong Kong. Among these 66 enterprises, 82% are from mainland. We can see there's still room for globalization or internationalization rather. If we rely on one single market, then we are prone to structural risks. So we need to make good use of $500 billion. We need to have more targeted measures. Then we will reduce reliance on one single market or traditional markets. We need to set up a dynamic assessment mechanism to evaluate the performance of enterprises introduced into Hong Kong. We need to avoid abuse or misuse of public resources. We can also see the ambition of the government to give greater role to AI and INT. We have already seen an improvement in the collaboration between the government and tech companies. Some patents haven't yet been developed. SMEs play a critical role in the government. There were already some funding schemes for the SMEs. But then they are still facing a lot of challenges when it comes to going global. I hope more resources will be provided to SMEs when it comes to going global, targeting the eligibility threshold, cultural differences, and trade barriers. Legal consultation services and cross-boundary support should be provided. There should be regional procurement in order to reduce costs. I'd like to talk about the legal system in Hong Kong as well. I can see in the budget Small Claims Tribunal, Lands Tribunal, Labor Tribunal, some $160 million are spent every year on manpower resources, but then there is actually duplication of procedures. The procedures are cumbersome at the same time. It's very difficult to resolve all these issues in one single budget. We need consistent tactics. We need to let the public see the results. Say the usage rate of mediation can we reduce the use of legal services? Can we resolve matters outside courtrooms? Can the public see real results? The amendments to different ordinances will also reflect the economic development in Hong Kong. Say if we need to develop AI to boost the local economy, then we need to sort out all the matters in law and resolve all the matters in relation to ethics and accountability. When we encourage new technologies, we need to provide good legal measures and support at the same time. Through the budget this year, I can see the government's efforts on talents. We need to turn from passive to active vetting when it comes to manpower. In fact, when it comes to attracting talents, more of the expenditure is on the administrative front. Less of it is spent on talents themselves. Collecting statistics on university graduates, core skills required in relation to the development of Hong Kong industries and so on. Measures need to be more targeted. We cannot just rely on a lot of examiners to scrutinize the application for talents or talent admission. We cannot neglect the grassroots or members of the public. The budget should remove interest barriers and ensure a fair distribution of resources in society. Housing problems, sustainability of public housing, all these will put the supply of housing to tests. If we rely heavily on housing revenue to support public housing, then we cannot solve the problems in the long run. Housing policies need to interact more with welfare benefits. We need to enhance the affordance of public housing. We need to keep it within the control of the administration. Public housing should provide space for members of the public to live in. At the same time, there should also be common areas for the public to use. Public resources are tight. There is mounting fiscal pressure. We need to systematically organize and coordinate public resources. That way, it'd be easier for us to achieve our goals. We cannot rely on one single solution to resolve matters in relation to housing and elderly care. Can we plan the use of public resources better so that there won't be any waste of public resources? We need to achieve a dynamic balance to solve the deep-seated problems in Hong Kong. We need to iron out all these problems in a systematic manner. We do need a systematic solution. It's about whether we can move from order to prosperity. This will test the resilience of Hong Kong. We need to implement the measures and policies in the budget. The administration needs to enhance the sense of belonging and gain of members of the public. We do need to implement the measures. That's exactly how we can ride out the storms and enhance our irreplaceable position in the world. Your time is up. Reverend Peter Cohen. Thank you, Deputy President. We need to improve the livelihood of members of the public. We need to provide better care for the grassroots, the disadvantaged. All these matter in Hong Kong. There was more reduction on social welfare resources. More 58 social welfare organizations will have to shoulder 7% of the reduction of public resources in 2027 to 2028. 120 small to medium organizations will have to shoulder 3% of the cut. This measure will present huge financial pressure on social welfare organizations. This will also lead to significant impact on society. The social welfare sector has been facing a 10% cut in resources dedicated to them, but then the sector still delivers 100% of the services pledged. I understand the administration is facing fiscal deficit. The entire society needs to face the problem. We need to resolve the problem altogether. We all need to tighten our purse strings. But then we shouldn't do so at the expense of public services. This is a huge letdown to the sector. We are in the face of an aging population. There are more and more elderly people in Hong Kong. The government needs to keep enhancing elderly services. We need to provide a diversified range of elderly services of high quality. We also need to develop the silver economy, so the silver hair can still contribute to the economy when they can, whereas the rest can look for organizations upon retirement. The government should attach more importance to youth work. But then organizations working on youth work are still facing the same level of cuts. The old caring the old, and the old caring the disability or the disabled, all these are causes for concern. There's across-the-board cuts in public resources. This move hasn't taken into account the real needs in society. That is not fair distribution of social resources either. This has caused catastrophic impact on different quarters of society. Social welfare organizations are partners of the administration. They are in the same boat. The government shouldn't cut fundings given to social welfare organizations owing to fiscal position of the administration. This is tantamount to disregarding public interests. The government should provide more assistance to social welfare organizations providing care for the grassroots. The civil service is having a pay freeze, but then there are more and more medical benefits for civil servants. For high-ranking officials, they aren't facing any pay cuts either. But then the disadvantage, the elderly, they are facing reduction in resources given to them. Are we still tiding over the difficulties together? The government needs to provide higher quality services to the public. But then with the reduction in public resources, it's very difficult to do so. It's very difficult to provide high quality services to the public. Organizations will find it difficult to launch new schemes. It's practically impossible for them to do so. Unavoidably, some organizations may have to freeze or even reduce the number of posts. There are operational difficulties for some organizations. Larger organizations can still stay afloat using their financial reserve. But when their financial resources are depleted, more problems will surface. We don't have a lot of seed funds to stay afloat. They cannot issue bonds either. They cannot stay afloat by doing so. These organizations only have, so to speak, the cookie jars from which they take money when needed. They are facing fiscal pressure. A reduction of public resources between 3% and 7% on social welfare organization is very limited when it comes to resolving the fiscal deficit. They can at most save $200 million, but then this would cause a huge impact on the social welfare sector. I hope that the government will understand the difficulties that the social welfare sector is in. The government also needs to consider scraping the across-the-board reduction of public resources spent dedicated to social welfare organizations. I hope that the government will undertake that when the economy picks up in the future, such resources will be provided to the social welfare sector in the future. This budget also talks about measures in relation to profits tax and salaries tax. $30,000 in 2018 to 2019. Now the figure has been significantly reduced to $2,500. The commercial sector is having a very difficult time as well. The economy is faring poorly, but then the administration is cutting the tax allowance, and this will dampen the consumption sentiment. This is putting the cart before the horse. The government has been saying that we need to improve livelihood and boost the economy. These have been high on the agenda of the government, but then the measures aren't really targeted. They aren't helping the government to solve these problems. Comparing with Singapore, in 2021, a 10-year action plan for the manufacturing industry was formulated. They have a very clear industrial positioning, and Singapore is also very resilient. In 2023, there was a fiscal deficit in Singapore, but then in 2024, they recorded a fiscal revenue or surplus of $37 billion. We are acting too slowly. When it comes to boosting the economy, we are only relying on slogans. We are still a long distance away from seeing an improvement in the economy.
Mr.